What happens when love starts feeling like a debt you never asked for? Most people call parental sacrifice love, and sometimes it is. But sometimes it quietly becomes an emotional contract with a very high interest rate. Some parents give their children everything: their time, their energy, their identity. Their entire life slowly becomes sacrifice. And from the outside, that looks admirable, loving, selfless. But underneath it, something more complicated can start forming. The child starts carrying the weight of everything their parent gave up. And that changes the relationship psychologically. Because now love no longer feels free. It feels expensive. Every disagreement feels ungrateful. Every boundary feels cruel. Every independent decision feels like betrayal. The child is no longer just navigating their own emotions. They're trying to manage the emotional weight of someone else's sacrifices too. And that creates a very specific kind of adult. The kind of person who feels guilty for resting, guilty for disappointing people, guilty for wanting distance, guilty for choosing themselves, not because they're selfish, because somewhere deep down they learned that love creates debt. Pause there for a second. Read that again. Love creates debt. That sentence quietly shapes more adult relationships than most people realize. You can actually hear this dynamic inside certain families. After everything we did for you, I sacrificed my whole life for you. You have no idea what I gave up. Sometimes those words are spoken directly. Sometimes they're only implied. But emotionally, the message lands the same. You owe me. Now, obviously, this is not about blaming parents for trying their best. A lot of parents genuinely love their children deeply. They were exhausted, overwhelmed, trying to survive, trying to provide, trying to protect. But children absorb emotional patterns long before they intellectually understand them. A child does not hear, yeah, I sacrificed because I chose to. They hear, you are responsible for the cost of my love. And that creates enormous pressure psychologically. Because now the child slowly learns that relationships are not just emotional connections, they are obligations to maintain. So they become careful, easy to rely on, easy to guilt, easy to pressure. They start walking on eggshells to make sure everyone else is okay. Not because they're weak, because they learned very early that disappointing people carries emotional consequences. That pattern follows people into adulthood more than they realize, especially in relationships. Because now they don't just ask, do I love this person? They ask, am I abandoning this person? That's a very different psychological experience, and honestly, a lot of adults are still carrying emotional contracts they never consciously agreed to. You can see it in the way they panic when setting boundaries, the way they over explain small decisions, the way they tolerate exhausting relationships because leaving feels morally wrong. Not emotionally difficult, morally wrong. Because guilt has become confused with loyalty. That confusion shapes entire lives. Some people choose careers out of guilt, stay close out of guilt, remain emotionally available out of guilt, keep sacrificing out of guilt. And from the outside, everyone praises them for being good, responsible, selfless, loyal. But internally, many of them feel trapped because they never learned the difference between love and emotional indebtedness. That's why healthy boundaries can feel strangely terrifying for some people. A boundary interrupts the emotional role they learned in childhood, the role that says your job is to carry emotional weight for other people. And the scary part? Many people don't even realize they're doing it. They think they're just being loving, helpful, responsible, but love that requires permanent self abandonment eventually stops feeling like love. It starts feeling like emotional survival. That's why healing this pattern is not about becoming cold, or selfish, or distant. It's about learning something many people were never taught properly. Love given freely should not require lifelong guilt in return. That realization changes people because now saying no stops feeling immoral. Now independence stops feeling like betrayal. Now relationships stop feeling like emotional debt collection. And something interesting happens after that. For the first time, people begin asking, if guilt disappeared, what relationships would I actually choose? That question changes everything. Because loyalty built on guilt feels heavy, but loyalty built on genuine love, that feels completely different. One feels like obligation, the other feels alive, and many people do not realize the difference until adulthood. Have you ever felt like someone's sacrifices quietly became your emotional responsibility? Let me know in the comments.